Okay, good evening. I will call the meeting to order, convene into open session at 5 o'clock, Oroville City Elementary School District Board meeting. I will start with roll call. Sandra Barnes. Here. Jessica Anthony.
Present.
Bill LeGrone.
Here.
Lisa Torres.
Here.
And Dr. Spencer Holtom.
Present.
The board will now extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on items that are listed on the closed session agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments may also be emailed to backpack@ocsd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments received pertaining to items listed on the closed session agenda will be read into the record during this time. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be read. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per subject. Do we have any public comments in backpack?
No, we do not.
Okay. Do we have any raised hands online?
No, we do not.
Okay. Anyone in the public would like to say something? Please come forward.
And go away. Make the red one go away. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Beth Parmentier, OETA President. I sent an email to the board last night with some reflections on our negotiations this year. I hope you have had time to read it. If not, please do. I also discussed the scheduled trainings on the first 2 contract days in August. The district has scheduled all-day trainings for both of these days. My email discussed past practice regarding these days. The district and the board made many attempts to ease the stress of staff last year with lunches, the change in the December PD day, et cetera, massages, sodas, things to help out. It was appreciated by many. However, the underlying problems are still there. Requirements and expectations from many different areas, Department of Justice, data collection, discipline, et cetera, all added on top of regular teaching duties. Last fall, the board discussed slowing down the Department of Justice requirements and giving staff support. What has changed? As stated in my email, this scheduled PD on the first 2 days leaves 0 time for preparation in the classroom, unless it's done voluntarily on off-contract time. Is that what the board expects? Would other professionals be treated this way? It's wrong and shows no respect to staff or students or families. We need to attract new staff and retain existing staff. The district needs to support staff with time to complete their duties on contract hours. The expectation that teachers will do all this extra work above and beyond is no longer acceptable. This new generation of certificated staff have multiple choices of where to work, what grades to teach, and they're using it. They come and they go, and if you don't have for them a grade they want, they go to another district who will give them the grade they wish. When I first began teaching, you took whatever position you could get. Now new teachers pick and choose, and they do. Even established teachers can change districts with other districts offering to match their years or give incentives for them to join. We all know there's a shortage. I also want you to know that teachers are worried about their students' safety and their own. As I watch a TikTok video showing me how to use a chair to block my door, and I consider trying it in my room, it's in the back of my mind. Who knows what can occur? It's just in the back of everybody's mind, and yours, everyone, for safety in the classroom. On the day of the Texas shooting, there were tears and hugs in my staff room. So they feel these deaths deeply. OETA greatly appreciates the safety measures the district has been implemented. We all know that life must be lived and we go on with each day. I just wanted to remind you that that is still there, not just for teachers, but for families too. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, and now we will recess into closed session at 5:05. All right, welcome back. We will reconvene into open session at 6:05 PM. And there is nothing to report out on closed session action. There may be something to report out on closed session. Okay. I will report out that the board did complete the superintendent's annual evaluation and with satisfactory results. And we'll move on to item C, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Okay, we'll move on to number 5, comment section, comments and announcements by board members. President Sandra, do you have anything to report?
I always feel like I'm in the deer in the headlights. I can never think of anything, even though I had this great big long list. I just finished on my vacation. I feel very refreshed. That's all I got.
Okay. Jessica Anthony.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay. Bill LaGrone.
I have nothing to report. I just want to wish everybody, I hope they're enjoying their summer break and happy 4th of July.
And Lisa Torres.
I do have something to report. We were selling fireworks for the gymnastics, Feather River Elite. And last night they broke into the storage and they stole $13,000 worth of fireworks. They took the hinges off of the conics and took all the fireworks. So whatever wasn't sealed, all the boxes that were closed, that were still closed and stuff like that, they took all those boxes. We had 2 of the $600 packs and they took those. We had some loose stuff. They left that. So they're doing inventory. They're going to restock. And so whatever we sell now, they're going to bring some more fireworks tomorrow. So whatever we sell now is just going to recoup the money for what we lost. So we do have a GoFundMe page for set up because we do fundraisers to be able to help families get their Leos, send them on trips like to Florida, where they're well deserved for all the work that they do. Help some families pay tuition sometimes. So this is money for the kids. And so it was really sad to hear that somebody actually broke in and stole all those fireworks. So if anybody's trying to sell fireworks on the streets, let us know. OPD did make a report. So
What's the name of the GoFundMe page?
for Feather River Recovery, Feather River Elite Gymnastics Recovery. Thank you.
All right. I don't have any comments at this time, so we'll move on to comments and announcements by administration. Dr. Holtup.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to just remind everybody to, especially if you are kinder or kinder age students, that you go to your schools, or go online to our homepage and start the registration process. If you were a current student from last year, your students will automatically roll over in our system, so you don't need to re-register them. Just new kids who are coming into our district, or kinder or TK students. Next thing I want to report out is our last meeting. I was asked by the board to start looking into a safety task force. I've already started that process. Have several members who have agreed to be on that team. Me, a parent/employee who's also an employee of ours, and our vice president, Sandra Barnes, will be going to a safety conference next month in Anaheim. And so we're busily trying to look at ways to improve safety in our district. And last but not least, I've been extremely busy hiring both certificated and classified personnel for the upcoming school year. we will be having a job fair on July the 18th at the district office from 1 to 5. If you know anybody, have any friends that are looking for a job or want better employment, we're a great place to work. Go to our homepage and apply, go to EdJoin and apply, or come to our job fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrew James.
Good evening, everybody. Happy 4th of July. My updates are the auditors were here the last 3 days. I wanted to give a big shout out to Chewy Dugan, who helped with the auditors a lot. And our audits happen annually. This is our regular annual audit. It happens in the summer, and then the final part is in the fall. So it was another good experience, and looking forward to getting through the second half of it.
Thank you. Janet Handley.
Good evening. So we do have summer school coming up from July 11th to the 29th. It's half day. It's from 8:30 to 12:30. And then we've partnered again with BCOE for those who want extended daycare to do activities with them. One of the highlights is going to be that they will be doing Lego and robotics. And so we've incorporated some great elective activities with the kids, so they should have a great time. And the other thing I just wanted to make a comment on is in relation to Beth Parmenter's comment, and that is, I'm not sure where she got the information, but the agenda, the tentative agenda that I handed out to the principals actually has a full day of training. And then the next day, they do have a short training, staff meeting, and then a half day working in the classroom. So that's pretty typical of what we've done in the past. And so that is on the schedule that the teachers do have that half day to work in their classroom. So I just wanted to make that correction. Okay. And that's it.
Kimberly Tyler.
I want to let you know that ESY Extended School Year Services was completed successfully last week. In addition to serving all the students in our community with disabilities, we also served as an open site for community food handouts for our parents and families who wanted to come in. There were several families in our area that came in on a daily basis, including a foster home. So we were happy to be able to meet that need as well.
Thank you. All right, comments by the public. At this time, the board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on matters which are school related. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments or questions may also be emailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments and questions received will be read into the record and or addressed during the meeting. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be shared during the meeting. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per subject. Do we have comments online?
I have one.
Okay.
Carla Johnson, kindergarten teacher, Stanford Avenue School. After watching the last board meeting on YouTube, I heard Miss Hanley say that there will be 2 professional development days at the beginning of our school year. Traditionally, over the years, teachers have been given time to prepare our classrooms for the first day of school. When I heard the statement, I began to wonder when teachers would have time to prepare their classrooms. It's been my understanding that this has been a negotiation point between OCESD and OETA. My statement to administration and the school board is, if these PD days remain on the calendar, when are teachers, who are the district's ambassadors on the first day of school, going to have time to prepare our teaching spaces for the first day of school? It is the assumption of administration that teachers will get it done on their own unpaid time. These are the type of decisions that continue to splinter the relationships between teachers and administration. Please reconsider changing the schedule of 2 professional development days to 1 professional development day so that teachers aren't set up to fail on the first day of school. Respectfully, Carla Johnson.
Okay. Any other letters?
No,
Okay. Anyone online with a raised hand to make a comment?
no.
No. And anyone in the audience? Beth, come on ahead.
Did
The first time. Thank you. I'm Beth Parmentier, OHA president. I just want to clarify with you also what happened is I thought we were working that direction too. And then admin sent out a thing saying that those 2 days were all day. So maybe a clarification from administrators when they send that out would be more productive because it says 8 to 3:15 on that Monday. All certificated group and something. So it's just unclear. So when it comes across, it looks like this is what the plan has just been put out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there being no further comments, we'll move on to item 6A, state and local LCAP data presentation.
I was trying to figure out what memo that was. Okay, so LCAP this year. So the 21-22 LCAP. I had put in a slide that kind of talks a little bit about the focus of some of the initiatives that are going on that are built into the LCAP. This came from different groups. It came from Curriculum Council. It came from some different teacher comments that they wanted. And so I embedded these into the LCAP as I did budget planning. The next slide that I want to spend a little more time on, and this is the meeting that we have when we meet with our parents, we meet with our staff members, and we meet with the unions. The parents, when we met with them, their wishes and what they thought we needed to do to move forward was to get additional counselors, supports for their child's homework, clubs and activities, more attendance incentives, and DLAC also agreed with the attendance incentives. The additional counselor, we actually, at the time these meetings were happening, is kind of when Dr. Holton was in the process of getting another educational therapist, and that was Jeanette that we have since hired. So I kind of count that as addressing their need when they're talking about one more. We are looking at how to help with homework. We know homework clubs don't work. That hasn't been an effective practice, but we are trying to figure out ways to do some kind of tutoring that would help address that. Clubs and activities, we are going forward with our affinity clubs next year. And we're hoping at every site that we'll have that going. And then attendance incentives, we did add that into the LCAP to increase some additional incentives. Okay. And then staff. Staff had, again, requested the counseling. And again, that happened. The same timeline was right when we were in the process of that. They want alignment of report cards to Illuminate, which is being designed to occur this year. We're looking at getting that done this year. The classified is really wanting to see more campus supervision. We did add an additional person that would also help support with alternative recess and some kind of support with detention. And then they wanted to make sure that we had more PD on de-escalation and more campus supervisors and additional instructional aides. So what we were able to address in that column is, I think, the counseling we talked about, alignment to the report card will be occurring. The campus supervision, we addressed that with the additional person at every school site. And the PD, we are adding more campus supervision this year for the, or more training with the campus supervisors in particular. And we'll also be training the instructional aides more, and particularly on de-escalation, and then also on restorative practices. But the de-escalation is definitely something that we are addressing. And then the unions. When I met with the unions, OETA wanted to make sure we supported increased salaries so that we were competitive. And we had CSEA who wanted more professional development. They wanted to see attendance incentives for students, and they wanted us to explore alternatives to suspension. So we're addressing all of those as well. So that was the feedback that we get before we really start making the revisions on the LCAP, and that kind of helps drive the direction of where we go with our LCAP. And then in addition, what we do is we also look at local measures, and this is we do it with climate surveys, we'll do it with academics, and we do it with attendance. So on our climate surveys, this is a survey that goes out to all the kids. And this is how the kids responded to a few of the questions that we had on the survey. And if you see, probably their strongest is they very clearly, we give a message that we want kids to do well and we have clear rules. So that is very definitively the two highest categories that we do really well in. The other areas that we take a look at are going to be areas that we are going to see what we can do to help support. So it looks like students treat each other well. You know, how can we further enhance that so we can get a little higher school, and also students behave so teachers can teach. And that has been a challenge and a discussion that we've talked about in the board meetings this last year. Middle school student survey, they came out a little different. Their highest was, again, school rules are clear. And what I thought was really exciting is I know an adult I can go to for help. I think that's huge. I think that speaks highly of the staff at the school sites, is that they do know there's somebody that they can go talk to. And it can be a variety. At one school, I see it's a campus supervisor. Those kids just clamor around her. At another, you know, in other areas, it can be a teacher. It can be the custodian. It can be any staff. The most important is they connect with somebody. And I thought that was exciting to see that. Their biggest concern was safety at school. And that's an area that we have talked about and we're working on addressing. The district family survey. This is what we received from families. And again, they felt that the buildings were clean and well maintained. And again, they felt the school rules were clear. So I think we're doing a good job with that because everybody's agreeing with that, and teachers promote successful for all. And I think that's really neat that they see such a positive relationship from the teachers. Areas to grow in would be getting more involvement, parent involvement, and teacher climate survey. So teachers were most positive about the school promoting academic success. And I did see the bullying was coming out pretty strong. Areas that we need to really work on are unsafe behaviors and school safety. And that survey came out in March. I was thinking it was after the last incident, but it was before. So school safety is an issue. And just like Beth had brought up, it's a concern and it's always on the back of everybody's mind. This is a survey that we do every year. Our focus this year, we haven't been doing a lot of standards, looking at the standards. We've just had other focuses. This is a very old data point that we put in here. It's the only cast we have. You guys have seen it for 3 years now. It's not new. What is new is we did do iReady, and this is our latest results on iReady. And we're taking a look at the 22 school year. And you're going to see that in reading, we have a very slight decline in reading, and that in math, we have a little bit of a decline in the kids that are, or increase, which is a decline in our students that are more than 2 grade levels below. You see a slight increase with that. So we do know we have our work cut out for us. We knew that this has been a rough year for everybody involved. And I think we haven't completely had an opportunity to get things back on track quite yet. Attendance also is a reflection of getting things back on track. Very hard to do well when the attendance is, chronic absenteeism is at 40% overall. Chronic absenteeism means that the kids are missing more than 10% of the school year. And if you look at overall, our absenteeism is at 42%, and that is considered very high. Ideally, the state's wanting us down in the 90s. So we are hoping next year that our lives get a lot more stabilized and we don't have the in and out that went on this year. So hopefully we've kind of hit our challenges and we can move forward. We're hoping next year will be a much more positive year. And that kind of concludes the data. Any questions, comments?
You had said that the state wants you to be at what level for attendance?
Well, pre-COVID, it was in the 90%.
90% at?
And that was pre-COVID. So yes.
The state average is closer to 95%, and that's what we're shooting for. We've always been somewhere between 90 and 95%, and we would love to be closer to the 95.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we will move on to item 7, action session A, public comments on action items. The board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on items that are listed on the agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments may also be emailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments received that pertain to items listed on the agenda will be read into record during this time. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be read. The Brown Act does not allow the governing board to discuss or take action on any item that is not posted on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per subject. Do we have any letters in backpack or online comments?
No, we do not.
Okay. And any raised hands on
Not at this time.
Zoom? Okay. And any comments from the public? All right, no comments at this time. So we'll move on to item number 8, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All in favor. Item number 9, new business, review quarterly report of district compliance with Ed Code Section 35186, the uniform complaint procedures.
We had a clean report with no complaints.
Thank you. Item number 10, business and finance. A, adopt original budget for the 22-23 fiscal year.
So I'm going to take you through a presentation on the original budget for the 22-23 school year. I do want to make one point, and it'll be repeated in the presentation. The governor and the legislature have agreed to a budget today, and you will be seeing another budget presentation next month. That's going to have all of that information. That's going to be part of a 45-day budget revision that's going to update this version of the budget. So I'm going to quickly take you through this budget to highlight any points, but it's going to be pretty brief because next month we're going to have more as far as what actually occurred and what's going to actually be coming up. So first thing this year, because it was such a good year to do it, they have a new financial reporting system. So all of the reports and things look a little bit different to you. The fonts I do not appreciate. I think are very small. I'll be putting in my feedback on that. I don't think they're ADA compliant at all. There are additional tests and criteria, and the whole system is all brand new to me. But for you guys, it's just the fonts are a little smaller. So this has been a little bit different of a year, learning the new financial system. We have 2 budgets or a plan and a budget that are in this adoption. First, you have estimated actuals, and what estimated actuals are is I take the 2022 or 21-22 budget, try to estimate what the ending balances are going to be for the original budget. So I can start with an estimated starting point. And also this is what the auditors use when they look at how comparable the budget was to where we actually ended up. So that process requires me to go through and look and say, oh, well, we've spent this or didn't spend that, but it's not really a financial plan like a budget. This is just sort of looking at it before I close the books. The original budget is primarily created from assumptions and projections. It was created in May off the governor's May revise. Because there are a lot of projections, it tends to be a bit conservative. Because you're going to have things like what's our federal revenue going to be? Typically, you budget down 10% from the year before, and you won't know that until September. So original budget, it's always a little bit conservative. And again, you don't actually have the budget that the legislature is going to use in May. So the May revision is the version of the budget that the governor proposes. It's before the legislature has any chance to have any say in it. Then they're going to work on, again, they worked on their different proposals and they adopted a budget today, I believe. So the May revision was a positive change. It had more money in it for schools. There were a lot of competing budget measures, so I didn't include many of them in this budget. The main ones I included were the increase in the COLA to the 6.56%, but there were other competing measures that weren't included that were supports for declining enrollment, some different one-time things, and additional cost of living adjustments. There were a lot of things that the legislature had 3 or 4 versions, the governor had 2 or 3 versions. So it wasn't really possible to land on one of those proposals. So they were left out of the budget. That was the advice I was given from all the different agencies that I deal with when it comes to developing the original budget. Some of the proposals that were in the May revision, a 10% COLA. This would increase it from the 6.54. And again, that's not what they ended up doing. They ended up going a little bit higher than that. The 3-year ADA averaging, this would let us use the last 3 years ADA for funding. And this would be a big deal for us. You can see it's in the May revise, it was $2.29 million of an increase. It's still unclear whether this is ongoing or one time, but effectively we can use the last 3 years ADA, come up with an average, and that's the funding we're going to get. Or if we have more ADA than that, which would be great, we use that. So either the greater of the two. For us, it's a really big deal, especially being a declining enrollment district and having lost a lot of kids over the last 3 years. And then there's also an ADA percentage proposal talking about this last year with the ADA percentage having dropped mainly due to quarantine and students not completing independent study. So your students were out of school quite a bit more than normal. This is also sort of, in my opinion, a manufactured problem. Part of this, when we went into this last year, was they got rid of J13 for a lot of these school closures, saying you can't do a J13. You have to go through the independent study process. So this to me just sort of corrects what they did by getting rid of the J13 process. So there was a funding cliff coming up in 22-23. And we would need about $2 million to fill in the hole. And this has to do with having that hold harmless from 1920, 20, 21, 21, 22. We're using the same ADA from 1920, but we've lost, a significant number of students between here and there. So that's where that funding cliff comes in. The proposals that the legislature and governor have agreed on will help us tremendously. So I'm hopeful to show that to you in the next presentation next month. Again, we'll be doing a 45-day budget revision. Multi-year projections. Multi-year projections to me really are the budget. It shows you what your 3 years look like. That's what our budget is measured on by the county. If I can't make all 3 years, I get a guest that comes and visits me and stays with me in my office and helps me make it so it happens. And we had them last year, I believe. We were in AB 1200 or the year before, and we had FICMAT come in and do a full audit of all the things I do for budgeting, which was quite in depth. So it's, again, the 3-year look. You always have to be looking at that 3-year picture. The main 2 assumptions: continued declining in enrollment. We've been declining in enrollment about 2% a year. It's been more and less a couple of different years. But that's the projection right now. And then we also have some favorable cost of living adjustments in each of the years. Those were part of the May revise. I guess the big risk with the out year cost of living adjustments is that, are they going to come true or not? I think we're all getting concerned about the economy. And here are the at the time I prepared this, these were the COLA numbers for the out year. So you had 6.56 for 22-23, 5.38 for the following year, and 4.02. All those are really solid COLA numbers. But there's some volatility in the economy that we're hoping they can smooth out and we don't have a big downturn. So this budget shows deficit spending in each of the 3 years of the multi-year projection. We currently, before they passed the budget, have a structural deficit at Oroville City Elementary School District. I'll be looking forward to showing you what the new proposals will do for our budget. And I think that the 3-year averaging is going to be tremendously helpful for Oroville City Elementary School District, especially if it's an ongoing feature of the budget. Because as we decline, it's hard to keep up and make enough adjustments year to year to make up those declines. And this will give us more time to do that. One thing I wanted to highlight, not necessarily highlight, it's not the right word, call out, in our budget, I have a lot of cuts of a lot of positions that are one-time in nature through CARES funding. From my perspective is that it's very important that if we have people who are using one-time money for their positions and the one-time money goes away, at that point, those positions need to be laid off. And that's coming. We've worked very hard in the time I've been here to not have to lay off people. We're very careful with people, but I'm not sure that that's going to be the case due to the volume of positions that are in that CARES COVID money. So there are probably going to be layoffs coming up in the next year or two of these positions. And we're working hard. Spencer and Jan and I are working hard to make sure that people all land on their feet. We have plans for where they're all going to go. But I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it is very important that those positions go away when the money goes away.
What kind of positions are we talking about?
We have a number of positions. We have some that are, we have some teacher specialist positions. We have some additional hours for instructional aides. There's a variety of different little measures that we put together for the the COVID time, trying to do the learning loss mitigation, and also there's additional hours that are in there for health as well. So those are things that as this money goes to sleep, those positions have to go away. So I just want to prepare the board that this is coming, and it's not anybody's favorite thing. No one is excited about layoffs, and we're working very hard to try to avoid people being laid off whenever possible.
Yeah, I thought one of the things that we had discussed when this funding came in for short-term positions is that through future retirements, that we would maybe balance out, that there would create positions for those people that were put in special.
Right.
positions.
Ideally, that's what we'll be doing. There will be some positions that are currently expanded hours that will be decreased. And I don't see that being resolved.
Okay.
I do see, then this is the game that, there's this sort of chess game that Spencer and I play all summer with Janet, where we're moving people around, trying to make sure everybody that works for us has a position and is going to be successful. And there'll just be a lot of that going on. And we're hopeful that we can get everybody placed and somewhere they'd like to be. But it is coming, and I don't want anybody to get caught unaware, because this is an important part of our budget, is that we make those cuts as we need to.
I also want to point out that right now we're in a very robust economy, and we could have another year or two of this, which would allow us to maybe hold on to some of these positions a year longer. So we just are very cognizant that there's going to come to a point where we have to do some of these adjustments. Some of it might be next year, some of it could be in 3 years. But we just want the board to know that we are thinking about it, we're planning for it. And a good example is teacher specialists. They're extremely valuable. They've done a really great job for us, and we want to hold on to those positions for as long as we possibly can. And if we ever need to lose that position, we do have plans that they would fall back into their position into the classroom, and through natural attrition of retirements and things that we have year to year, probably won't have to lay off people. But at the same token, we want to hold on to those specialized positions because they've done some great work for us. And we don't, and I've worked with the board in the last couple of years to try to find money and allocate that. But we're also very concerned that in a couple of years, our economy might go south.
That's one thing I just wanted to highlight. I mean, it's not a highlight. Call to your attention that this is coming. We are working very hard and planning. The entire time we've done these positions, we've been planning how does this work for 3 or 4 years. Trying to see what that looks like, so we're not setting ourselves up for some sort of mass layoff. But there could be a few people. It's possible. So. And again, we have adequate ending fund balances to meet our reserves, so I don't get a friend on this one. So I'm happy with that. And that is the original budget. Did you have questions right now? And again, when we're talking about the budget that was adopted, I'll be covering that in depth with the 45-day revision next month.
Any questions or comments from the board?
What percentage is the reserve above what the minimum requirement is?
Let me pull it up. Turn me off. I hit conferencing computer. There you go. Let me pull that up for you right now. No, you're fine. I'm just looking at something here. Good. So our unrestricted reserves as part of the multi-year projection, we have to have a 3% set aside. And I think that our unrestricted reserves as a percentage of outgo right now for 22-23 is 30%. For 23-24 is 28.84, then 26.06%. Part of the strategy is, as we had one-time money, instead of going and spending it, we're kind of saving it. Since we were in a deficit spending mode, we were spending more money than we were bringing in. So we've tried to save money wherever we could to continue to keep the ship afloat, even though it's got a problem, right? As you're continuing to decline, having reserves buys you years. So that has been the plan all along, as far as reserves go, to try to save as much of that unrestricted money as we could, use as much of that restricted money as we could, especially for things that maybe could be spent out of unrestricted, so that we'd have an opportunity to adjust as things went south. Additionally, when you're talking about ending fund balances, as opposed to surplusing or deficit spending, because there's surplusing or deficit spending is how much money am I bringing in and how much money am I spending, right? That's your deficit or your surplus. When we're talking about ending balance, it's how much money did you have at the beginning minus the deficit or surplus, and then how much is at the end. So that's more of one-time money. Is it, when you think about the ending fund balance, it's once you spend that, it's gone. When you're talking about the surplus or deficit, that's where when I think about the budget, how we try to correct it is you really want that deficit or surplus to be zero, right? You want to have a nice balanced budget. And this budget is not balanced in that way.
So when you say 30%, then 28%, it's 30% of total expenditures
It's a percentage of
per year.
It's 30% for year one, being 22-23. It's 30% of the total outgo.
Right.
So that's the measure that it is. It's not
Right.
necessarily.
So if cataclysm apocalypse were to happen, we would have approximately 30% of the school year paid for, and then we would have nothing.
Yes. So this
So
would,
that's
so that's when you think about
3 months. No.
Yeah.
And then I noticed there was a section that asked if any new charter schools were entering the area for the previous year or the current year.
Mhm.
And it was stated no. So we're not bringing into account the new charter school coming, that's not having an effect on this budget.
Which charter school is that?
Stream expanding. I
Oh,
guess.
okay.
So is it asking for a new
It's asking
building
for a
or the
new-
expansion?
Yeah.
Because there's new,
Only,
there's a special cutouts for ADA and things if there's a new charter school operating, and also it's a different fiscal indicator.
Mhm.
The expansion of Stream is included in our enrollment projections, using what they had given us, showing this is how many students they're going to take, and for each year how many students they're going to take. But that isn't actually a new charter opening in our district. It's just the expansion of one. So I think that's sort of, I guess we got caught in the semantics there.
Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, thank you, Andrew. I look forward to the update next month.
Thank you.
All right, and now we'll move on to item B, approve 22-23 local control funding formula, budget overview for parents.
You have to adopt it.
Sorry.
If you would
Thank you.
please.
Yes, we do need to have an action item on adopting the original budget. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion, comments? Okay, all in favor for adopting the original budget as presented?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to the next item to approve the 22-23 local control funding formula budget overview for parents.
So the budget overview for parents, and it's in your packet, is I think we've seen 4 of them in the course of the LCFF. It is the LCAP's attempt to call out specific information, put it in a graph format to make it easily understandable and readable for parents. It ties directly to the original budget, and that also ties directly to the LCAP. So if you took all of the numbers from those 3 and looked and compared them, they'd all be the same numbers. The main things are it shows some different looks, and if you looked at it, it has a nice pie chart showing how much of our budget is LCFF funds, which is 69%. It also shows budgeted expenditures in the LCAP, total budgeted expenditures, and then the last graph shows the total budgeted expenditures for high need students in the LCAP, and then the total actual expenditures per the estimated actuals budget that are in the LCAP, and it's significantly more. And that's because there was an increase in LCAP or S&C funding during the year. So there was some expansion of that. And there were also some different cost factors, things that got more expensive during this year as well. So that's really what, it's a summary document, and it should tie directly to both the budget and the LCAP.
Any questions or discussion from the board? Okay, this is also an action item. So I will entertain a motion to approve the LCFF budget overview for parents.
So moved.
And is there a second?
I second. Oh, go ahead.
no.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Move on to item 11, curriculum and instruction. Approve 22-23 local control and accountability plan.
So tonight in the board packet, you've got a full, complete look at what the LCAP plan looks like. We've had an opportunity to look at an overview. And last board meeting, we had a chance to have public comment. So do you have any further questions before we ask you to approve the plan?
Okay, there be no further questions or discussion. I will entertain a motion to approve the LCAP plan.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. 5 yes votes. Okay, item B, approve OCESD's Universal Pre-Kindergarten Planning and Implementation Grant Program Template.
So at the last board meeting, we had an opportunity to look at a slideshow that gave an overview of what the plan is for the UPK implementation. And tonight, in your board packet, you had a full copy of the plan that we are looking at. And at this point in time, unless you have further questions, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. We're asking for formal approval of the plan.
Is there any questions or discussion from the board? All right. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the UPK Planning and Implementation Grant Program Template?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Item C, approve disposal of obsolete textbooks and instructional materials.
So at the last board meeting, you approved the new textbook adoption for history. And at this point in time, what we would like to do is remove the old materials and make space for the new materials in the classroom. So we're asking to officially delete and make the books obsolete.
Is there any discussion or questions on that?
How will we be making them, how will we be disposing of them?
We had a few of the principals asking if they can give it to kids, to students. And once the board approves it, we can give it to any student that we would like to. We stamp the books discard, and we make sure that they know that it's no longer one of our books. And then the other is they actually are just tossed out. At one point in time, there was a lot of research on, used to be we could send books to third world countries. It used to be that we could recycle. And it's kind of gotten to the point now that the best solution is to just go ahead and toss them in the garbage can.
Is it possible to notify parents? As sometimes the message might not get from the student to the parent that its books are available if they would like them.
That's a great idea. We certainly can do that.
They can't be recycled? They can't be.
Believe it or not, we've tried, and recycling centers used to take them, and now they don't take them anymore. So, and when I talked with Shannon in this district, the last district I was in, we tried really hard to recycle because it is very hard to see those books tossed. But when I checked with Shannon, she said there aren't any recycling around here. We can do further investigation, but from her knowledge, they can't find a place.
I'm so confused. It's paper.
I know.
But it's covered in boring.
Oh, and
That's what
so
makes it shiny.
it can't be disposed the same as.
That much boring, I would imagine, would probably mess up their whole system.
Yeah, they don't like it. They won't take them anymore.
They're getting very restrictive about, I was a coworker of mine whose father actually owns several recycling plants in Northern California between here and Sacramento. And she was saying that contrary to what you would think, that glass is actually harder to recycle than cans, and glass has been becoming a bane in their existence.
I would like to see in the future, maybe investigating a mode of recycling these books rather than just throwing them in the dumpster, to be honest with you. I mean, I was in Sacramento yesterday, and there are vans driving all over that say, "We deliver ugly food." Okay, so this they take the stuff that the grocery stores don't
That's
want
cool.
because it's irregular shaped,
Uh-huh.
but it's still food,
Mm-hmm.
and they deliver it to special. So anything can be reused or recycled,
That's
regardless of the case on it.
That's California law. It's AB 1383.
With the food.
You have to, yeah.
Very good. I am so glad. to
So,
hear.
and it may be also that we are underneath those same restrictions for recycling of the books as well. We may not be able to throw them away. So we may want to just check with Recology and find out what is
Yeah.
the proper disposal now, because those new laws went into effect the beginning of this year, and it's very restrictive.
Okay.
So
You know
I-
what? I
yeah.
certainly will. 'cause
In the future,
I-
I'd like to see if
Yeah,
we
we'll,
do
we'll look
dispose.
into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or discussions on that?
Food bags has compostable bags for green waste.
Is there a motion to approve the disposal of obsolete textbooks and instructional materials?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? Beyond that, they will be looking into how they will be disposing of these textbooks. Okay. We have a motion on the floor, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. And that concludes our meeting. We'll adjourn the meeting at 6:55. Yep.
Potentially. It doesn't